Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Daily Chats. We're here today with Tanel, and thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
So just to start off, Tanner, we just want to get a kind of idea of who you are, what you do. So if you could just give us a quick, brief introduction to yourself.
Sure, of course. Name is Tanner. I work for a public accounting firm called Witham. We're a large national firm. I lead our BD efforts, our business development efforts for our technology practice. So I work with a lot of startup founders and help them navigate tax and compliance issues, financial statement audits, and any accounting bookkeeping needs they might have.
Awesome, awesome. All right. So to start off, we're going to get into your education, and I'll hand that off to Karen.
Yeah, Tanner, I'm so happy you were able to join us today. And I wanted to ask, first off, what drew you to study business and commerce at Mount St. Mary's University? And how did that academic experience shape your professional mindset?
Sure. I think as a youth, I was always interested in how businesses worked, how they operated, and the complexities behind them. And I thought studying business was kind of the right idea for someone who wanted to be more of a generalist, that might have wanted to go wider instead of deeper on a specific topic. I wanted to explore kind of all aspects of business, and that kind of aligned with my goals of learning kind of a little bit of everything. And I just wanted my skill set to be as diverse as possible, and that certainly helped me throughout my career.
That's great. Okay, so a little bit more about your time in your university. Looking back now, do you have any specific professors or courses or maybe even experiences that might have made such a lasting impact in the career that you have today?
Sure, I took a bit of an untraditional path as I was working full time.
Oh,
And so I attended a lot of night classes. And I think the night classes had the greatest impact on me because I was working with a lot of other, people who'd already established their career and fellow professionals. And so it was great to get their insight, discuss their journey, and it helped me kind of shape my own path for myself. So I think those conversations in the night classes really it's led to some interesting perspectives.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Do you think that because you were with older, I'm guessing because of the night classes, they were majority adults. Do you think you would have had a different experience, or how different do you think your experience at college would have been if it was just students that was your age instead of maybe older adults?
Yeah, so I did both, right? So I kind of took a few years off
Yeah.
while I was establishing my career, right? So I did initially go to class and go to school with the younger students. And then I took a couple years off, started going to night school. And so then I kind of got to see both sides of it, right? So I
Mhm.
think that also helped me just to have the experience of working full time and interacting with people who'd already developed a career, and they
Right.
might have been a little more mature in their career. So you kind of just seeing both sides of it. I was able to maybe learn from them, which I think benefited me later on.
I see. Do you think it was for you, do you think it was hard to balance out both having already having an established career while doing night classes? I'm sure I can imagine it was really busy.
Yeah, it certainly was. It certainly was. But I think, definitely when you're younger, I think you want to try to put as much on your plate as
Right.
possible and to figure things out. And so I was able to, it was definitely hard, and, it was early mornings and late nights, but I think it paid off and it was worth it. And I'm glad that I kind of challenged myself, and I was able to establish myself in a different career prior to public accounting, but it certainly has paid off.
I see. Well, how did your education, or how do you think your education prepared you for navigating both the creative and the business side of your current endeavors?
Yeah, great question. I think, studying business, it gave me a wide spectrum of knowledge. And I think to serve clients effectively, you've got to understand their business from a multitude of perspectives.
Mhm.
Um, on the creative side, I think the marketing classes that I took certainly have helped best practices for our firm, some of the events that we hold, and our brand awareness strategy. So I think it's a good, you've got to be able to meet your clients where they are in the business cycle, and just having a good understanding of that helps to serve them effectively.
I see. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna hand it over to Bar now then.
I have a real quick question about education. Do you have anything that you regret that you didn't really do? And that goes with early career too. In your early career slash education, do you have something that you regret you didn't do, like joining a club, taking a specific internship?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, I think regret's probably the wrong word, right? Because I think,
Mhm.
hindsight's always 2020. And if we live in a constant state of, man, I wish I would have done this, you're
That
not
is
going to be
true.
happy at the current moment. And I think everybody has their own path that they have to walk, right? And I think no
Mhm.
path is going to be the same for any two people. Would I have
100%.
done some things differently? I think so. I think so. I think I probably would have taken my education a little more seriously and been not so career focused early on, I would say. I think I would have, continued my education to, higher levels at an earlier age. I think might have been more beneficial in the long run. I don't know, but then I might not be speaking to you fine people here today. So I think you've got to run your own race, and
That is
I
true.
think you want to reflect. I think you have to, like, life is all about balance to me. So you want to have the right amount of introspection and reflection, but not enough that it's going to keep you up at night saying, "Man, I should have done these things differently." I think it's like you should be more focused on the current moment in the present and how you navigate that. That's going to set you up for a successful future.
Amazing response, I think.
Thank you.
And do you have a meaningful professional experience after graduating? And how did it influence your career? So that's like building off of that.
Yeah,
Like
sure. So
something.
I guess to give some context, I worked in the grocery industry for about 17 years. I was managing supermarkets on the East Coast. So I was a store manager for a grocery chain. I was with this one company for 12 years, another one for 4 after that. But that's when I developed sound people skills, managing, leading people. It's something that I kind of took pride in and something I really enjoy doing. And college provided great theoretical skills and great knowledge, or great theoretical
Mhm.
knowledge rather. But I think leading people, it's a skill that you can't master reading in a book. You've got to have those experiences day in and day out, and you develop your own leadership style through experience. And that's something that I loved about that industry and that part of my career. And so I think the earliest stages was just, especially because I was younger and I was leading people who might have had more experience. And that really helped develop me as a manager and a leader of people. And that's probably what really was meaningful to me. And then I really enjoyed the numbers aspect and operating the stores like it was a business. I love the sales aspect. I love getting a budget and then developing a plan to, really crush the budget. I just enjoyed that. So that's really what's, that's those experiences really kind of shaped me early on.
Sorry, I
Mhm.
wanted to hop in before Bar, but like,
Yeah.
were you always like, would you say that growing up you were always like an extrovert and you always were like a people's person, or do you think you were able to kind of discover that side of you through that not marketing, excuse me, your produce experience?
Yeah, I think I was more introverted, more of a numbers person
Yeah.
initially, right? And just was a great operator, would always hit my numbers, exceed budget, things like that. But the people side was something that developed over time. And then it really began to get to the point where, once you establish yourself in your career and you're managing a store with 300 or 400 people, you start seeing the people that, maybe they're a part-time cashier or something like that, and you see a little bit of yourself in them. And then it became about, how could I develop others, right? How could I get, and if maybe they were just wanting to go through school, if I could give them experience or give them advice on that, or if they wanted to make that industry a career, I could lend my experience. And really just, the older I got, the more it became about the others around me, right? And just helping to build them up, and less about what I wanted to do. I really just enjoyed and kind of found success in developing those underneath me, or so the that was, what I really developed those people skills, I think.
I see.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Sure.
During your early career, do you think you had any like failures or like pivotal moments, both success and failures, that helped you define what you wanted to do in the long run?
Yeah, I certainly had both. I think, the failures are always just lessons, really, right? I mean, it's
Hmm.
uh, unless the situation is life or death, there's always going to be the sun's always going to rise the next day, right? So I really just tried to look at failures as lessons and try to, never duplicate those again, but learn from them and put a better plan in place. And I think that helped me become an effective manager. And I think it just you go through failings as a younger person in your career. It helps you build resilience. You become more. You get a better attitude, I think, because you realize that the failures are only temporary, and so it helps you navigate the waters because you've been through it before. You realize that the failure is only temporary, and you can't let it stop you. Or the only one that could stop you is yourself, right? If you have the right mindset. So I think any failure really just helps develop your mindset and a path forward.
It's a
I
great
love that.
response. I just want to jump in real quick. And so, could you give us kind of an example of a time in your very early career? So, whether that's your job in college or right after college, where there was one of those failures that happened and it really changed kind of your outlook on your career?
Yeah, I would say I don't know that any one situation changed the outlook on my career. I think there were some early failings, especially when I first became a store manager and you're accountable for all the operations, all the people, customer service, loss prevention, food safety. I mean, there's a million things you're accountable for, right? And I think it was how I had to develop the team around me to make sure the store was going to be successful, right? So it wasn't about what I necessarily had to do to make the store successful. I mean, you've got 300 people working with you that you have
Mhm.
to figure out how to lead them to make the store successful and to make the customers come back and to achieve all your goals, right? So it really, again, it wasn't about what I needed to do on a operational basis, but it was more how do I lead the people around me to steer the ship in the right direction.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
And have you always like wanted to do this in your early career? Do you know like yes, I want to be a store manager, or is this something that like
Yeah, I think it kind of goes back to the why I chose business, right? I always liked operating a business or the thought of operating a business. And I always tried to operate the stores like I was the owner of the business. And so I kind of just fell into the industry. And the company I was with was growing very quickly. They were opening up a lot of new stores. There were a lot of opportunities for promotion. And again, I liked the work. I liked being around the people. There was a lot of kind of uh, I enjoy seeing the new products and new trends in the industry and things like that. And you have a lot of control as well, too, right? I mean, you're running the whole operation, so you have a lot of leeway to make it your own in a sense. And I think I enjoy that aspect of it.
yeah? Could you talk more about like starting your own company? Because that's something that I'm very like passionate about, like entrepreneurship. Like, how
Yeah.
was that like?
So it wasn't. It wasn't. It was a company that I worked for. I didn't start the company, right? I mean, we opened up
Yeah,
stores, and I would treat it like it was my own. But I think what
yeah.
I'm doing now is more aligned with helping founders and in the startup space and helping those early stage companies grow. So I think
Hmm.
I never left the. I guess I've always liked helping companies grow or trying to grow something. I've never started a business on my own, but I've just always been
Yeah,
around, I guess, helping companies or helping people or
like
helping.
startup. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
I see. I'm gonna pass the mic off to Max now to talk about the next.
Great. So I want to kind of talk about your current role at Witham and what you're kind of doing alongside of that, because I know you're working, as you said, with kind of startups in the venture capital space. So I kind of want to ask um, what you're kind of doing at Witham at the moment, and then also what you're doing in the venture capital space, and what mission there is behind both of those, and what kind of drives you day to day.
Yeah, absolutely. So I went through a career change during COVID, and I think every industry was affected during COVID.
Yeah.
Grocery was one of the hardest affected. So there were a lot of operational changes kind of in that landscape, and I wanted to make a change for myself. So I got into some financial service sales at a couple companies, and then I found Witham, which is it's a great firm. It's a national CPA and advisory practice. I head up our business development efforts for the technology group. So our clients are mostly venture-backed software companies, typically Series A and up. So I work with a lot of founders that have gone through some funding rounds, and they have tax questions, compliance questions. Maybe they'll need a financial statement audit as a condition of a funding round. We do transaction advisory. We do any type of bookkeeping needs. We can provide fractional CFO support. We can provide a fractional controller. We can help with the budgeting, the projections, forecasting, and things like that. So in BD, my role is really to find new clients that would be a good fit for the firm. I end up working with a lot of early stage founders and having the conversation with them, even if they never become a client. I really enjoy speaking with pre-seed founders that have a great idea, and they're bootstrapped, or they're working out of their garage, or it's just them and maybe a roommate or something like that. And even if that they're a little too early for our firm, I always try to add value to them, whether it's introduction to people in my network. I know other companies that are in the same space as them that might be a good introduction for them. And so I developed an interest in venture capital. So I'm also a venture fellow at Bank Tech Ventures. I've got a particular interest in fintech, and Bank Tech Ventures is a venture capital firm that invests in companies that are helping community banks, regional banks, and local credit unions. So the companies in their portfolio are not going to be selling to your Bank of Americas or your JP Morgans. They're looking out for I'd say the little guys, the smaller local banks. And there's a lot of solutions that are really necessary, because a lot of these smaller banks, they don't have access to the technology that the bigger banks do, and they don't have developers on site. They're not developing their own AI, right? So they really need solutions catered to banks of their size. So I do that as well. And so really, I guess kind of to tie it all together, I work with a lot of early stage founders and try to help them become successful, and hopefully their companies will grow, and maybe one day they'll be a client of Witham. But if not, I can try to help them in any way that I can.
So I was going to follow up with a question kind of regarding on what kind of pushes you, if it's really helping people or if it's kind of the idea of building a company up.
Yeah, I think
basically answered that.
Yeah, it's more aligned with helping people. And I think on the day to day, like what keeps me going, I mean, there's so much innovation in this space. So especially with AI and being in the Bay Area, which is the hub of creativity, it's the hub of innovations, it's the home of venture capital and the startup space, right? I really don't need much to drive me. Like it's I'd say kind of like the culture and the industry is it drives me itself, and it changes so quickly. And it's great to see companies that you have a conversation with a founder 6 months ago, and then you see that he just closed a new funding round, right? And you realize that's helping create jobs, that's helping grow the economy. And so I really love the space, and it's really the growth aspect that drives me.
Great. Thank you so much. And so what you kind of explained, it sounds like a lot. So how do you kind of balance all these business projects and kind of the venture capital side along with your current job? So how do you kind of balance that on the day-to-day?
You have to prioritize, of course. You have to prioritize, but I think the best way to do that is, if you're always leading with what does this person need to grow? What's going to make his or her business successful? And what kind of stage are they right now? I mean, do they need introductions to investors? Do they need tax services? Do they need a place to host an event that they want to do? Do they need a demo introduction? Is it something that, I know a company that could possibly use their solution? right? So if I'm leading with the people that I'm interacting with, right? If I'm having if I'm at a networking event, or having coffee with a client or a prospect, or I get an article and I see this company just raised some funds and I know the founder, it's okay. What's the next step for them? How can I help them? How can I connect the dots? And that helps me prioritize as well, right? I think my early experience in managing supermarkets really helps too, because you always had 50 things going on at once and different fires to put out and emails to respond to and reports that you had to get filed. So I think I've always been used to having a lot on my plate. But, again, I think the space that I'm in is very exciting. And if you're leading with, how can you help as many people as you possibly can, and how can you add value to them, then I know that, my priorities are going to be taken care of.
Great. So when it comes to your work, I know you said that kind of what drives you is really helping people, and that's really great, because I know that kind of in a lot of finance roles, that's a big thing as well, where helping clients and individuals is really a big driver of motivation. But what are some challenges that you're kind of facing currently, whether that be at Witham or in any of the venture capital projects currently?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few things. I mean, obviously, at the firm, we just got through our tax busy season, right? So, it's a crunch this time of year. I think, more widely, the uncertainty in the markets. There's a lot of people sitting on the sidelines, right? So, we've seen venture capital funding slow down. We've seen transaction activity slow down. We've seen the IPO markets basically come to a standstill, right? So that's, been challenging to navigate, but I think we'll get more clarity second half of this year, and then we'll see the investments pick up, and we'll see the transaction activity pick up, and we'll see the IPO markets hopefully open up.
Yeah, no, we can only hope. So I actually interned at a small CPA firm this last tax season, and
Cool.
kind of following up on the busy season, what was the most fulfilling part of working at Witham during this busy season? Because I know every tax season is it's a lot of things to do, all the clients and everything. So how did you kind of manage that, and what was the most fulfilling part of it?
Yeah, I think the most, you have to be delicate, right? And I have a lot of conversations with people, and I'd love for everyone that I've talked to become a tax client of Witham, right? I know realistically that's not going to happen, but I think the most fulfilling part is when I've had a conversation with someone 6 or 7 months ago, and they'll reach out to me kind of out of the blue and just say, "Hey, Tanner, hey, I need help with my taxes." And then, I have to be delicate, because we've got, a long list of existing clients that we've got to get the returns filed. But I really just get fulfilled when it's a connection that I've made in the past, and they'll reach out to me, and they'll ask for help. And if we can get that done for them, that's always very fulfilling.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, no, again, touching on the helping people thing, it is definitely a really fulfilling thing. And since I was interning at a small firm as well, the idea of helping others and helping the clients is a really big driver. So kind of moving on from that, where would you kind of see your professional journey headed in the future? Are you kind of headed towards more venture capital, or are you headed towards more like the accounting side? So where do you kind of see yourself going?
Yeah. No, I love the firm that Witham is a great firm, and it's growing. And we're really making a push to grow our West Coast practice. We've only been out in California for about 6 years. The firm's 50 years old, so it's very, relatively new on the West Coast. So we've got a big push to really grow our West Coast practice and our tech practice here in Silicon Valley. So I'm definitely 100% on board with being a part of that growth, helping to lead the team, and hopefully we can get more offices out here, more people out here, and we will have, the brand awareness and the reputation that we have on the East Coast. I want to duplicate that here in the Bay Area and California, the whole West Coast in general.
That's great. That's great. Really, really happy to hear that you're pushing for that and really pushing for change. So now we're going to move on to kind of more into your future and what you'd like to do it with them and in the general venture capital space. So I'm going to hand it off to Karen.
Yeah. So I understand that we just had a very like heavy talk based on the current job that you do right now, and it's very like professional. But I also was just curious. I'm like, what are some long-term goals you set for yourself personally? It doesn't have to be about business. It doesn't have to be about with them, but you could talk about professional too. That you're excited to pursue in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, sure, sure. So personally, I got married last year, so I'd like to think the next
Congratulations.
thank you. I'd like to think in the next 5 to 10 years, I've started a family. I guess that'll be top of the list personally and professionally. Yeah, I just really want to grow out Withum's practice on the West Coast and our tech practice on a national level, right? Just continue to grow that. So I guess it's kind of a reoccurring theme, right? Just maybe grow a family, grow the practice. But yeah, 5 to 10 years from now, that's where I see myself.
Oh, I love that answer.
Thank you.
And while juggling this like work and family lifestyle, look at the work side. What would like a cool project that you're hoping to get, or like what would like the projects and that you want to have be? Do you have like a dream project?
Yeah, I think we definitely love in the tech space. You've got so many different sub verticals of our practice, right? So I mentioned fintech earlier. We've got a large e-commerce practice. I think climate tech is an opportunity for us to really grow that in the next 5 years. So there's different kind of obviously AI is a massive vertical that's exploded over the last few years. So it's like, how can we continue to grow the current sub niches in tech, and then what are some new ones that we would want to explore? But like a massive project. I mean, if we were able to open up more offices here in California and we kind of grew our team, I'd love to be a part of managing that and helping to mentor some of the new team members. So just see what areas what new markets can we explore and what new industries can we explore while continuing to grow out our bread and butter.
So kind of pushing more towards the professional side. So I know a big thing is building up the firms, building up the companies, but when you're thinking about building up the companies, is there also kind of a meaningful impact for the community or the environment that's kind of involved in building these companies, or is it really strictly numbers and company focused?
No, I mean, I think it's definitely like it starts with community, right? Because if you want to be a trusted advisor, we don't just want people to look at us or come to us when they have tax questions, right? We try to, we're big on giving back. We do Withum Week of Caring, the week of Thanksgiving. I'm sure, Thanksgiving's a shorter work week for most of our clients, right? And most everyone that week is they've got travel plans or they've got holiday plans and food plans. So we pretty much take that whole week and we do a lot of community service, and we're big on charitable and things like that. But you want to grow your community. I mean, like you said, is it a numbers thing? To get to the numbers that you want to, you've got to have a great community, right? You've got to have an environment where companies want to do business, where people want to live, where transactions are happening and things like that. So if you can foster a community that has a great experience for a business owner. So we really believe in giving back. And I think, if you can make an impact on people personally, it can help professionally in the long run.
I see. Well, to wrap it all up, like it could be for people who want to follow your footsteps for, the type of job that you're currently doing, or just in life in general from your personal experience. Like, what is one tip that you would want the listeners or viewers that are watching the podcast right now, or the people who will hear it? What is a tip that you would give to someone who's trying to get to where you are now, or like life in general?
Yeah, I would say keep your end goal in mind, like keep that vision, make sure you can see that, and then make sure you've got a plan developed to get to that end goal, right? And then just make sure your daily action aligns with that plan that you put in place. So, a lot of times I think we can get too bogged down in the day-to-day and you don't see the forest from the trees, right? You might be working really, really hard, or it feels like you are, but if you're not making progress, you've got to take a step back and say, like, here's where I want to go. Like, here's how, here are the things I need to do to get there. And then these are the things I need to do to get those items checked off of my list. Just don't ever let setbacks be permanent. Let them always be lessons, and just have a resilient attitude, be positive, try to help other people, and make it more about the people around you than yourself. Because if you're helping them get to where they want to go in their careers, then your career is going to be fine. So really, just put others first. Be resilient, have a good attitude, just be happy for life, be grateful for what you have, and just always keep your vision at the top of your mind.
Great. Thank you so much, Tanner. And with that, we're going to finish up our episode for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you.